Hey guys! Alright, so today's video is going to be about where you can slice and dice in your novel to get your word count down to where it needs to be. This will be especially helpful for people who's trying to be traditionally published, who are also overwriters like me. And it's also going to be helpful for anyone who wants to make their writing more concise and tight so that they don't have real long lagging bits where the plot's not progressing, which is important. I am wearing my hoodie today because I'm cold. I'm always cold. It's red, but it looks orange, so I look like Kenny from South Park, and I'm low-key worried about getting murdered. But I think I'm fine. All right, so we'll get started. First thing I want to talk about is flashbacks. If you've done your job correctly, have a very intense character, very fleshed out character, very complex. Very, very, very. And you know what his favorite color is, what their childhood was like, who their first love was, all of that. And now you want to share all of that with your readers. You want them to see everything that you've created for this character and just show them how fleshed out and real this character is. And I don't blame you at all, because I definitely want to do that too. In fact, that's why I have to cut 9,000 words out of RemWorld. I'm sad. But anyway, there is a way that you can do this. Because I managed to do it with Julian. So Miles has to go, but I could still share all of Julian with the world. So that's nice. If your flashbacks, if your character's backstory actually ties into the main plot somehow, then you can get by with it. It's awesome. Yeah, so there's your loophole. If it ties into the main plot and it helps your plot to progress, then you can use that backstory. You can fit that in there. Just make sure, and the reason for that is because your readers are going to want to see the plot move. They're going to want to see what's next. They're not going to want to stop and be bogged down with all this backstory about your character, no matter how interesting they may be. Or so I've heard. I like the Mayfair Witches series by Anne Rice. All the backstory there, like they do flashbacks and stuff and talk about all these different characters. It's awesome. And I never got bored, but that's fine, whatever. The way I do it in my book, to make it to where it's not so telly, and I make it showy. Showy's a thing, right? I'm a writer. Anyway, Julian doesn't have any memories when he first pops up in the book. Like, that's how the book begins. He pops up in RemWorld, no memory at all, giant rock monster coming at him, and that's the beginning of the book. So his goal, his very first goal from the beginning of the book, page 1, is, who am I? I need to find out who I am. I need to recover my memories. So that's his number one goal from go. So now my readers are automatically wanting to know the same thing as my character wants. Who is he? What they want to see his memories return. So when I provide flashbacks where he's remembering stuff and his memories are being triggered and they get in those flashbacks, they're excited for it, or at least I hope they will be. They're like, yes, he's remembering something. What's this memory about? So that's one way you can do it. If you're going to drop flashbacks and backstory on your readers, make sure you set it up to where your readers are excited to see the backstory and the flashbacks come out. Okay, so there's flashbacks. There's your loophole for how you can put them in there. But if it's not contributing anything, and if you cut it out, it wouldn't affect the story whatsoever, don't put flashbacks in there, because I'm telling you, it's just going to make people go like, oh, a flashback. Plus, it's contributing to your word count, and if you're trying to get traditionally published, overwriting and having a book that's too long, too many words, can hurt your chances of getting published traditionally. So keep that in mind. And number 2 is world history. World history is just like your character backstory. If you've done your job as a writer, you have a complex world, completely fleshed out. It's got its own political system, its own weather, its own calendar and time, all sorts of stuff. It's probably its own solar system even, you know. I'm talking about fantasy because I write fantasy, so this might not apply to everybody, but fantasy writers, band together here. But anyway, world history is about the same as your character's backstory. You need to make sure that it ties in with the main plot, and that you're not info dumping. Now, I know you guys have heard info dumping before. It's the same problem that we have why we don't show flashbacks unless it advances the plot. World history can be introduced in bits and pieces. Nobody wants to see like 3 chapters of just the world history. That's boring. We want to see how it relates to something we care about. And the first thing that we're going to care about when we open your book, hopefully, is your protagonist, your main character, the one that we're following. That's the one we're going to care about because we have already formed a connection with them. We care about what happens to your MC. And we want to see him succeed. We can relate and empathize with what he or she is going through. I keep saying he because my MC is a he. It's everybody, any gender. But anyway, that's where we need to see world history, is how it relates to the MC that we already care about, because that's where you've got us. So the way that I do it in RemWorld, when I first start introducing world history, is Julian learns some information about himself. I'm not going to give it away, but he learns some information about himself, and that leads him to start asking about Titus, which is the immortal tyrant of RemWorld, who has, he's basically enslaving like half the world. It's really bad. This world's a mess. But anyway, he starts having to ask questions about Titus and treaties and the statute of rulers and melding and all this good stuff. But he's only asking the questions that we would naturally ask in that situation. You don't want to have one character talking in a monologue for 3 pages. That may have worked in the past with other books, like 5-6 years ago, but our attention spans suck now. So you don't want a monologue. You want to put information in there that you know that the reader's going to care about. If it's not a question that you don't anticipate your readers asking about, then I would not put it in there. So anywhere that you are getting too chatty about your world history, go ahead and chop that out. All right. Yeah, that basically covers it for world history. So I guess it will go to number 3 real quick. Magical systems. All right. So magical systems is the same thing. You need to have it introduced as it relates to your main character, your protagonist, and try not to bog us down with details about like where history, not like where magic first originated or anything like that, unless it's absolutely necessary to the plot of the book. In my book, the only thing that's necessary in book 1 for us to know is what's melding, what's linking, what's, what are guilds, telelinks, that kind of thing. These are the things that we have to know right off the bat. Everything else, like the history of it, how it began, other ways that it might be used, isn't really that important right off the bat. So I don't introduce that. And I only introduce it whenever my main character encounters something that triggers a question. And that's really the one thing that you have to remember with all of this, anytime that you're trying to cut something, is, do my readers need to know this? Would my main character ask this question logically right now? Or am I just forcing them to ask this question of another character so that I receive information? So yeah, I hope that these tips helped you guys out. If you guys have any suggestions for another video, feel free to let me know in the comments. I love to hear myself talk. And I love sharing my opinions because I have many. So yeah, just go ahead and get in the comments and let me know what kind of videos that you'd like to see next. And make sure to like the video and subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notifications. Do all that stuff. And I'm gonna take off this hoodie.